Hi, my name is Brandon. I work for an organization called Brett DeNovi and Associates. We're a behavioral health company. A lot of what we do now is we bring a lot of awareness to as many people as we can, the positives of ABA, the history of it, what we use it for, and also how it can be used in diverse situations. So it doesn't just always have to be with autism. You could literally change a car battery from using ABA. You could learn how to play the piano using ABA. So I want to ask you guys about Drawings by Trent. So how did that kind of come about, and then what is the future for it?
Well, I'll tell you, when he was little, people would see him draw when he was very young, and they would say, "Oh, you should sell his art." And we're like, "This is just a game of survival at our house." Like, we can't even begin to figure out how to run a business and sell things, and we're just living life. We can't do that. So it came about just at the right time.
Neither one of us ever intended to be like business people, like I've been a preacher for a long time and Andrea was in education and that's just what we were going to do. And so it's not what we intended or planned. But when Trent was attending Heartspring, there was a guy working in IT that had a graphic design degree, and he saw Trent's art and he reached out to some staff at Heartspring and then reached out to us and said, "Hey, I think we should do something with this." They started drawing, Trent and Kendall started drawing together. And then out of that, Kendall helped us design first coloring book, Trent's View of the Zoo. That coloring book actually just worked out perfect. We ordered 5,000 copies of this coloring book, and the staff and students at Heartspring helped us put them together because it was part of their CIE program and stuff. And it was right about then when the video, Andrea made public a video of Trent drawing with chalk on the trampoline, and it went just super viral. We lost track when it hit some 50 million views across all the different places it was. Of course, now 50 million views on a video doesn't seem that impressive to us, but because he's got multiple videos like that. But it was a big deal back then, and people were wanting his art. So we had this coloring book, and that's kind of where it started. And now it's a very big small business that has consumed our home.
We would sell in person mostly. We had an online store, but we didn't do much with that because we didn't understand the power of social media. But just about 2 years ago, I started the TikTok and started posting every day. And that's when it took off and really became a true business for us. So over the last 2 years, we've increased our products and just gotten Trent more engaged with the drawing on social media and things. And it's been really good.
The purpose of all of this, Brandon, is not for some crazy thing, but Andrea and I are not going to be around forever. We know that he probably will go live with Tristan and her husband. We know the financial burden of taking care of somebody who can't take care of themselves. And so we want to make sure that Trent has a part in funding his future and helping. He has this incredible gift, and we just feel like we need to be his voice to help get that out. If he were speaking, he would probably be an artist and do this himself, but he can't. So we step in and we help manage all that stuff and get him to do things so that then the business brings in money, and then he gets paid to do that. And hopefully by the time we're gone, he'll be able to provide for himself, and that won't just rest on the rest of the family.
But also through the business, we want to educate people and inspire people and those types of things. So we're happy to be able to share with others.
I definitely think your videos on Instagram alone and TikTok, I think they do. I think they bring a lot of joy to people who see them. One most impressive thing that I've always taken from your guys' videos is the family dynamic. Seeing every single person in the family interact with Trent. I know Trent has limited verbal skills and communication, but the fact that you guys are still engaging with him, you're taking him out to restaurants, you're taking him to movies, you're working with him on the arts, and every time you get a request, I definitely hear, Andrea, I hear your voice a lot, talking about what the drawing is and just having him go. And it's one of the greatest parts of my day is to see those videos. I can only imagine how proud you guys are of what you've been able to create, of what you've been able to do for yourselves to get through those really, really tough years. And I just want to say thank you for being one of those families that shows other people and really demonstrates like different is not less. And I know that that was like one of his very first t-shirts, but
Yep.
It's volumes, because it's not just for, when I look at it, it's not just for Trent. It's for the entire community of families who have someone with disabilities or autism or Down syndrome or whatever it may be. I want to ask you guys about what a family dynamic is for you guys, and how bringing Trent up really affected the family dynamic. Because Trent was diagnosed at 2 years old, correct?
Yeah.
How did that shift your parenting style? What was the dynamic for the family after that moment?
Yeah. As you can imagine, everything changed really after that. We had 2 older kids, Tristan and then her older brother, Trevor. And, you know, you develop I guess a style or a way of parenting, discipline and things like that. And then you have a kid like Trent who doesn't fit those molds or patterns any longer. So we had to learn how to be parents, I guess, all over again. And as a man, you know, I really struggled with some guilt after, you know, trying to get him to pick his toys up out of the living room and put them away, or stay in his room or whatever, and then coming to find out that the reason he wasn't doing the things or responding in a way we expected him to, like his older siblings did, was because he didn't understand the way they did. He didn't function or process the way they do. That was a struggle. And then just, you know, I think every parent has dreams or ideas or plans for their children. And when you learn that there may be hindrances to those plans or dreams that you might have, and you have to then shift, that's a big, like, it's an emotional thing. So I think it's probably, for me, that's where it lied.
And I would say that, you know, having Trent in our family, we tried very hard not to let that stop us from doing normal family things, you know. And when we went to a concert for the kids or whatever, you know, put ourselves somewhere where we could leave quickly, show up a little late so we're not there as long, maybe he'll make it through. We tried really hard just to keep things normal, and I think that was good for Trent for the most part. It was frustrating for us a lot of times, but he just needed to be exposed to those things for us to see, is this going to work or not? It's a lot of trial and error just for years to see if things would work, and he did become more compliant over time. And something that didn't work before, like going out to eat, eventually did work and was okay. But it just really is a lot. You just have to be prepared for some disappointment and be able to just go, that's all right, we'll try again next time.
And then Tristan, if you don't mind, your story, or kind of like how you've played your part in Trent's life so far.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Tristan Moore, Andrea and Corey's daughter, and Trent's sibling. I don't really know life without Trent. He's only a year and a half younger than me. So a lot of things, like, I don't really know how a normal, quote unquote, family works. I've always felt kind of this like motherly instinct toward Trent. Mom has always told the story that I would take my diaper and Trent's diaper to her when it was ready to change. But yeah, I've always just felt really close to him, as close as someone could be to him. And yeah, I don't remember ever feeling embarrassed. I would actually get kind of upset when my other siblings would be embarrassed by him, because it's not his fault. He can't help it. And so because of that motherly instinct, I guess, toward him, I've always wanted to be his caregiver when my parents can no longer do that. So that really means a lot to me. I used to always say, whoever I marry is marrying Trent as well. And that's true now that I am married. Growing up, I did notice things like them showing up late to my activities and stuff. And it used to bother me until, you know, I realized why. You don't really know why. And I don't think originally mom and dad knew exactly why they were always late. And then, reflecting back, it's like, oh, because it's a lot easier. And, we just decided that it works better for him. We can stay longer if we don't come in with the crowds. There were a couple things like that. Just I remember growing up, not understanding totally why. And then, later reflecting back on it, understanding. Trent has shaped my whole career. I started doing ABA therapy here at Heart Spring 6 years ago. I did ABA therapy for 3 years as an RBT. And then I came over into the CARE program, which stands for Community Awareness, Resources, and Education. So now I get to educate people on what autism is, what it can look like, and lots more. And I work with kiddos with level 1 autism or equivalent. And I work for Drawings by Trent, and I am caregiver a couple days a week.
Beautiful story. And like I was telling you, Tristan, there's not a lot of like full family dynamics, at least none that are like fully put out there. So the fact that you guys are in all of his videos, that you're always like, making the viewers smile. I feel like I watch your videos every single day and I'm just like, there's that guy, like crushing it. Amazing drawing. So I guess my next question is, so you started ABA later, but have you guys ever had ABA early on in Trent's life, or was it something that was later introduced?
Trent went to a summer school program at a private place that was run by a speech pathologist. She started it, and basically they did ABA most of the time that he was there. He went there every morning, or maybe four mornings a week, and that was the most intense ABA therapy he's had. It was really good for him. We had heard great things about it, and it was during the time he was maybe 5, 6, 7 years old, something like that. But it was a positive experience. And I've talked a little bit about it with Tristan, and it sounds like ABA has changed quite a bit since then, because that was, almost 20 years ago. But even then, it was known to be very effective, and we saw positive results from it.
That was when, if Trent was 5, 6, 7, that was when he initially started getting very violent and aggressive and towards himself and others.
What was that like for you guys, like witnessing that?
His aggression?
Yeah, his aggression or his self-injurious behavior, his outbursts, his tantrums.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
I often say, like, people always say, you'll blink and your kids will be grown. It goes so fast. And I remember being in the middle of it with him, and like, we've been raising him for 40 years. I mean, it was the slowest. I thought it would never end, just that really, really difficult time. And it was a lot of years. I mean, probably 10 years that it was often, but he did grow up, and and he's doing great now. But it was tough to go through. I think it was helpful to have our other 3 kids, because they kind of kept us grounded, like, we're here for them too, and they are doing stuff, and they are, it just gave us something to be excited about, and to, just think, we're going to get through this. In the meantime, we're going to help support them as well.
I'm a pastor in a church. I remember Trent I don't think he was 10 yet. And I was up on stage. It was the beginning of the service, and somebody came in, walked down the, side aisle and up to the stage and said, "You're needed in the lobby." I left it. I knew I was gonna, just a few minutes, and I was gonna have to preach. And I walked off the stage and went around, and Trent was in the lobby of the church, like just full on fight. And so that was back in the day when they expected me to wear a suit still. And so I go out there, and I'm on the floor in the lobby, wrestling him, keeping him from hurting himself or others, just sweating, holding him. I don't know, it was maybe only 4 or 5 minutes. I remember he finally calmed down, and I got up and I opened the doors to walk back in, and everything just stopped. They were just like waiting for me to come back, didn't know what I was doing, and I had to walk back up on the stage and preach. It was very disruptive at times. We often had to leave the programs that we were at school, music and band concerts and sporting events, to take him out. Like, we've restrained him in every imaginable place, had to stop on the side of the road in the ditch and hold him down because he was going after somebody or trying to break the windows out. You know, like everything else, it happens, and you kind of freak out about it, and then it becomes the normal thing. And then there were times we thought it would never, ever end. I think he started around 4 or 5, and it was maybe 16, 17 years old when those episodes got infrequent enough that you kind of forget that they can happen. And now at 25, he only reacts, like, he primarily has self-injurious behaviors if he's uncomfortable or in some amount of pain, and only reacts towards us if he's in a lot of pain. That has become kind of an awareness for us. When he's getting aggressive in some way, it's because there's pain. We just experienced that, I think, a week ago, and took him to urgent care on a Saturday morning, and he had ear infection again. So that's how we knew, because he was just out of sorts and getting aggressive.
One of the hardest things when he was little was that there weren't a lot of people with autism anywhere around us. You know, we didn't have a support system. It wasn't as prominent, and we just didn't know people who had kids with autism. And so the people in our circle, you know, in our little town, didn't know people with autism either. So we had people say some really hurtful things about one lady who had kids around our kids' age. She told us that we should send him to an institution. We should just send him away, and because we were doing our other children a disservice. But we believe the opposite. I mean, we believe our children are better people because of him, and they're more caring and more accepting, and any of them would do anything we ask for him. So we're very fortunate.
100%. And I mean, just to give you guys backstory on me as well, I've been in the field of ABA for about 10 years now. I started in severe behavior. So I feel like now in my life, I don't know anything but, not in the same exact way that you guys are describing it, because like parents and family, but those 4 or 5 minutes and some of those behaviors feel like hours.
Yeah.
Done and over. It's like you just want to crumble and cry yourself, because it's this is just heartbreaking, and it just feels like it goes on forever and ever and ever. But really, like, you guys are beautiful and wonderful people for continuing to not just like progress with his story, but also like push his inspirations and his drawing and his life. And I mean, I saw that he has like an Amazon wish list. He had all this stuff. The other day, I believe he just went to see the new Ninja Turtles, correct?
Yeah, Tristan took it.
He and Tristan went.
Yeah.
How was it, by the way, Tristan?
Oh, so that was my second time seeing it, because my husband has a movie podcast. He's a big TMNT fan, so we had to see that early release for him. But no, it's actually a super good movie, and Trent was engaged the whole time. It has really cool animation. Highly recommend.
I've been wanting to see it, so very good for me.
Brandon, you should really get Tristan's perspective on the aggression and the violence for Trent.
Growing up.
Like this. I would love to as well, because I can imagine as a sibling, and you know, you said you're only a year and a half older, so
she's crying already.
They're the middle children.
If it's too pushing, like, please don't feel like you need to. But
well, I cry all the time. It's fine. So yeah, I don't remember super often, or I don't remember super well very often his aggression, but things that I do remember were kind of like, we had to be really careful when we were near him. We had this like super old Mac computer set up in the living room that Trent would draw on like the paint application with the mouse. And he would make these like very, very intricate drawings with the mouse, which is just insane, on the computer. And he didn't want people looking at them or saying anything about them or breathing on him, like not like his drawings were for his eyes only and no one else's. So if you were near him and he saw you looking at his stuff, you know, usually he would erase everything that he was doing and get out of it. Or if you caught him when he, you know, wasn't in a good mood, I guess, he might aggress. At that time, his aggression was like pulling my hair normally was what happened. It's like kind of shocking. And even if we were just walking by him and not looking at his drawings or anything, he might just like pull my hair or pinch my arm or something. Not because he was upset with me, but like maybe he might have been upset with the computer or, you know, been overstimulated or any number of things it could have been. But I remember those aggressions. And then I remember once we were left alone, I think my older brother Trevor and I were in high school, and mom and dad had to like run, I don't remember, or something with the church maybe. So you're in a meeting or something elsewhere. And so all four of us kids were at home, and Trent, you know, started having a meltdown and got really aggressive. And I remember like my heart was just pounding, and Trevor came and had to restrain him, but like Trevor's not dad, so he couldn't do that as well and as effectively. And we just had to call mom and dad and hope that we could handle him until they got home. A lot of times we would have to like lock ourselves in our rooms because he would come after us and we weren't, you know, strong enough or fast enough to dodge him.
By the way, we didn't just leave all the children home all the time and go away.
She said they were in high school.
I assume they were just left all alone.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah, we were just like, oh, we just locked the door and said, there you go, have fun, guys.
Handle it, guys. Go ahead.
Well, and our older son was probably even shorter than Trent at that time. Trent's taller than he is, and it was, I mean, to try to restrain him when he's bigger than you, you know.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because I think about this often. So my older brother Trevor is, hang on, I can do this, 4.5 years older than Trent. The youngest, TJ, is 2 years younger than Trent. It's interesting because I'm the only sibling that was at home to see Trent throughout his aggression at that time in his life, and then see him now, or like out of it. TJ, the youngest, really only saw his non-aggression, so his like calm state. And the oldest, Trevor, was only at home when he was really aggressive. So it's interesting to see the dynamic between the three of us and how we relate to Trent and how we not treat him, but maybe think of him. I attribute that, seeing that progression, to doing the work that I do now.
And I can imagine for you, since you kind of saw it all the way through, like you have a full perspective of it. But for Jay or for Trevor, like maybe Trevor kind of walks a little bit more delicately around Trent because he's like, seeing what he could do, and then he's nothing but like a sweetie, like.
Yeah. Right. Another thing about Trevor is he loved to do like Lego creations. He loved to build things with tiny little clay things, you know. He'd make little balls and he just loved to build things, and Trent loved to destroy things. So Trent would destroy his creations often, and he would get so upset. And I always had a fear that Trent, because then Trevor went off to college at 18, you know, and Trent was still aggressive. He was a young teenager. And I always feared that Trevor was resentful towards Trent for that. But I've talked to him about it, you know, in the last couple of years, and he says, no, he doesn't think about that at all when he thinks back. And I'm so relieved for that. I know it was heartbreaking for him at the time, but I'm glad that he doesn't, that's not something he thinks about when he thinks of Trent.
Right. And I'm sure for you guys, you know, you said earlier, you just want to care for all the children. You want to give them the best support. So you guys think of not just Trent's behavior, but like how it affects Tristan, how it affects Trevor, how it affects TJ. how it affects people out in the community or people in the church or that whole dynamic. Like you kind of shoulder a lot of that to make sure that everyone gets the best of what they can get. One more question, then I want to dive into Drawings by Trent. Was there a lot of times that you were both pouring from like an empty cup type situation?
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Basically,
that's the answer.
Basically from 5 to about 16.
Right.
You learn to function in the reality that you're in. I think we developed a very close and strong just family relationship. Of course, our faith has always been a huge part of that, and individuals, there's always the right family or friend at the right time to help us through those things. And Tristan said, she quoted me or something, I don't remember, the other day we were talking about something. She said, you just get through it. Like it's difficult, it's hard, you just do it because there's nothing else to do. So I think that's kind of how everybody just functioned, and thankfully we all had each other.
I think that our personalities, Corey and my personalities, are different in that he really thinks a lot about what's going to happen when, and worrying about the future, or his biggest concern when we heard the word autism was that Trent's not going to be able to do this and that, and he's not going to be able to play football, and he's not going to be able to do all these things.
He's never going to get married. He's never going to have children.
Yeah. But in my mind, it's just my personality not to go to the future. I mean, I just kind of deal with the today and the short term, and I just don't think a lot. And Corey would say I don't dream, but but I think that us being different in those ways was very helpful, because there were times where he'd be like, what if, and freak out, and I would be like, but right now, look, so I think we kind of balance each other out in that, and that probably helped us keep our sanity.
I would definitely say so. I mean, in all good things, especially with autism, you have to have a balance. You have to have some semblance of life. Even in the unstructured times, you have to have some kind of structure. You have to plan for the unplanned. I'm sure you get requests all the time to like do drawings or do videos or questions about it. And I'm sure you've told the story 1,000,002 times, but thank you for sharing it with me and allowing us to be able to post it. And again, just like doing what you guys do, because personally for me, I have a 2-year-old daughter. Right now, she's in a stage where she doesn't want to pick up any of her toys. Everything is really into putting Play-Doh in my hair. Imagine it was a little bit tougher for you guys, but right now, like, I feel like I'm at one of the toughest points where I'm just like, I just don't want to wake up with Play-Doh in my hair every single day.
They call them terrible twos for a reason.
They really do.
Well, thank you for the kind words. We really appreciate you asking us to be on today.